Let's go.
Like the sound of the stuff. Yeah.
And we smoked it all again.
Where did that name come from?
The Poptimist came from just a combination of, I guess, the word pop music
So pop music you did.
and optimism, and I just figured I'd put them together,
Yeah.
and they just sounded cool, so that's how I kind of got the name. You are now listening to the Poptimist podcast. My name is Taylor Berryman, and today we have
Daniel Grimmet,
from
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
originally.
And the name of your company?
The Songwriting Team.
the Songwriting
Yep.
team.
It's one of them, the main one. Yep.
Yeah. So, a few days ago, you posted a status on Facebook that really stuck out to me because you basically gave all these points about being in the music business and how up and down it can be, and how there's a whole bunch of ins and outs to it that no one can really expect. So I just wanted to kind of go over those points. I wrote them down here, so I figured what we could do is I'll just read one off, and then I want to kind of have you riff on it, how you got to that idea, or what experiences you've had that led you to that. So the first one is...
You want me to give a little backstory context?
Sure, yes, absolutely.
Because like what we do is
Yeah.
kind of different from like,
Yeah, sure.
So trying to make it quick. So we don't play like in the major label space. So I consider that business a pretty different business from what we have. And I think that a lot of people, coming up who want to produce records or be a recording engineer or some kind of creative in the music field, musicians too, sort of see that as like, oh, that's the business, you're either in it or not. But there's sort of this huge group of kind of working class,
blue collar almost.
Sure, blue collar,
Yeah.
building our own sort of thing. So the basis, just so there's some context behind this, we're an independent production company, and our little twist is that we're primarily web-based, so most of our clients are in other countries. So we're doing this work virtually, so that just came about because I couldn't get enough work in one place.
Oh,
so I said,
yeah.
if we go online, then now it opens it up to 7 billion people.
The beauty of technology.
Right. So we're sort of little tech savvy, I guess, slightly tech savvy music producers. We primarily we're pop guys, so we produce pop tracks, or we top line, lyric melody writing for DJs or other producers, things like that. Those are the two main things that we do. And then underneath that, we my sort of side project, pet project, is building companies underneath that brand. So we have a sound design company called Woodshed Audio that we bought from another guy here in Nashville. Named Jonathan Roy. Would be a great guy to have on. It's a mixer. We have Anthemize.com, which is a instrumental marketplace, kind of licensing site. What's the last one? Oh, and then Mix Notes, which is a YouTube channel, kind of education stuff. So that's the backstory. So we're just sort of self-made little company guys. So we don't really play with the big boys. Just to set up some context for this, It's a completely different world, and I think a lot of people don't really know about that world. It's like you're either in it or in the major stuff or you're broke, and there is this in between place. Yeah, there's this in between place, and some of the points I think I'll let you do your thing. Yeah.
So the first one that you kind of said was you aren't going to be perfect, and that's okay. There are plenty of times that we drop the ball on a project, forget to do something, overcommit, don't take care of ourselves, etc. Everyone looks perfect on social media, but none of us are. It's all good.
Sure, yeah. So I think it's easy for, whenever you do something, whether it's big or small, you have people say, oh, well, you're successful, or you did it, you know what I mean? And they don't really get to see the realness of it a lot of times. Not really. It's like we just never tweet about when we fuck up a project for someone or forget a deadline. We never tweet about that stuff. And I think there's this image of, if you run a business, oh, that guy just runs it perfectly, man. They get their shit done all the time. And that's just... I don't know any of that's 100% true for. So that was just an important thing for the guys who were feel like they're overwhelmed and frazzled and sometimes forget things and think that they're a bad business person because of that. That's completely normal. No one just ever posts about that. It's not pretty. It's not. Nobody wants to admit that they screwed up. It's usually a private thing, obviously between you and the client.
It's something that you have to learn from. And now with the social media that's just kind of ever present, especially for artists, everybody's always posting every fucking picture that gets taken of them, and they're posting. It's like I feel like I know more about an artist's aesthetic through their social media than I do through their music. It's almost like your social media in some ways, I'm just realizing this now as I'm saying it, it's almost like your social media lets people know who you are as an artist before they even hear your music.
Who you want them to think you are as an artist.
Yes, that's, yeah.
Depending on how
Yeah,
authentic
for
it is.
sure, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
you can kind of tweak it a little bit, you know?
Mhm.
It's an interesting game. Some people can really play the game. They're good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, usually those people are also kind of sociopaths too. I think
yeah.
some of that goes hand
Yeah.
in hand.
Probably.
I mean, I like Nashville, and I like the fact that there is so much creativity and music happening here, but one of the things that turns me off is, like, I'm from a small fucking town in Maine.
Mhm.
Like, my dad, he was in the Navy for like 20-something years, and then after that, he retired, he became a fucking shipyard worker.
Yeah.
So, like, I always have seen music as very blue collar, and my emotions from it, I always kind of try and remove. Like, I think the only time to really have something attached is when you're creating. You have to have that. But when you're trying to do the work and you're trying to make business decisions and shit like that, you have to, like, you almost have to separate the artist from the business. You can't have both hand in hand.
Yeah, and the blue collar thing is interesting because I think a lot of what I see in a lot of the folks we work with is trying to kind of skip that. You know,
Mhm.
they want to skip the
work
blue
part.
collar and go
Yeah.
straight to the Wall Street banker
Yeah.
gig. You know, the big dogs, the 1%, and it just takes the blue collar part. But the blue collar part isn't glamorous, and I get. I'm not saying they're doing something wrong. I get that that's a very tough thing because then to catch-22, part of it is, well, people expect, you know, you to be this untouchable entity. This, you know, and again, it's them modeling themselves after this major industry, which is a completely different industry. You know, the marketing plan
Yeah.
for Justin Bieber isn't going to work for you.
No,
you know, if
not
you
at
get,
all.
If you get naked on camera, then it's just weird. You know, it's different. You know what I mean? It's a different.
You don't have
thing.
that major label money to back you up.
Sure, it's just that is a hey, I'm unattainable pop star. It's a big deal if you're within 10 feet of me, you know, and an indie artist can't model after that 1%. They got to model after the blue collar, like, hey, I'm here to fix your air conditioning, and I want to like get to know your family because
Yeah.
we're the family friendly air conditioning guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Stay
you
in
have
that
to
realm.
you have to
be
kind
one
of build
person.
things.
Yeah, you do. And I think that's why we sort of, you know, I moved to Los Angeles and was primed for my big debut as a recording engineer in the studios, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they didn't fucking need me.
No.
They didn't need me. And I realized, I was like, okay, the only way I can do this and have a gig in this is the only surefire way is if I make my job. If I
Yes.
make it myself. You know?
Desperation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And you know, I sort of, regardless of, you know, us being small timers in the grand scheme of things, you know, we own it. It's ours. No one can take that away. Unless like Google shuts down or something, but hopefully they wouldn't.
What I always like about podcasting, and in particular, I'm a really big fan of Adam Carolla,
Mhm.
and he has this famous, like, one of his most famous rants is about how basically he's blacklisted throughout all the media because they always call him a bunch of like names, and they always take everything he says out of context, and he just goes on this rant about how he's like a pirate ship, and that he's allowed to say and do whatever he wants because he owns the building. Like, no one can come and
Sure.
shut him down
Right.
because of something he said. One thing that I've noticed a lot is artists always have to fucking apologize. That's one thing that's turned me off, is like, you could tell it came from a real place what they were saying. Like, whether it's like Jack White talking shit about someone, or the Gallagher brothers,
Mhm.
like when they're talking shit about someone, except they never apologize, which I like.
Yeah.
But it just,
political correctness or yeah.
yeah, it turns me off. I want to hear someone be fucking real and not have to go back on what you know
Sure.
they meant and what they still mean.
Yeah, and again, that's like that's a pleasing the masses thing, you know, which is just sort of why we're okay that we sort of don't play in that space.
Yeah.
Seems kind of stressful, you know. If we fuck up, and we actually did fuck up, then we say sorry, and if we say something that a lot of people don't agree with, which in general, I'm not I don't think I have any opinions that are super controversial that are related to
Sure.
music, really. I just sort of chat about what I know about. But you know, if we said it, then that's what we meant to say. We may lose a couple clients, but it's not going to make an impact as far as maybe this big time stuff, So I think it's a gift.
Yeah, it is a
You know,
gift.
with a publicist saying, well, you can't say that, you can't do it,
Fuck off. That's
Yeah.
what I say in
Yeah.
response. Okay, so here's point number 2. There is no, again, this is kind of what we're just going over.
man.
There is no blueprint for this. You don't have to model your business after or compare it to the huge major music companies. That's a completely different industry from us underdogs, and it's okay that you're not there yet. Try your things. Sorry, I can't even read my own writing.
No, it's okay.
Try out things you'd be surprised that a lot of big time successful people that you look up to will probably think you are
It's cool.
doing is cool.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
happened to me firsthand.
Yeah. It's like easy to, of course we want to be like a publishing company that publish hits, That's what we want to be, you know what I mean? It's like, and that's great you can get there, but like it's tough to sometimes for businesses to, a small independent guy. When I say business, it could be a freelancer, producer, or whoever, freelance, a studio, independent, maybe a home studio. Just trying some stuff, you know what I mean? Like maybe someone would think like, oh, I don't want to do like YouTube tutorials because that's like cheesy. Like my icon wouldn't do that. Like Max Martin wouldn't do that. He's above that or whatever. He probably wouldn't think that. But this person may think that they're heroes.
Yeah.
Think that's stupid or something, and they're leaving a lot of money on the table. One of the richest independent dude I know in this industry is a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And doesn't often record bands. I don't think that's really not where a lot of his income from music comes from.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think it does for anybody these days.
You can call him cheesy, but
Hey, you
he's
got to get your
doing
slice
all
of the
right.
pie.
He's doing all right. So yeah, I think it's people are kind of sometimes I think worried more about like looking cool than doing something that's right for their business. You know what I mean? It's like. Sure, maybe 50% of our projects are just kind of like random demos, in essence, compared to these big music companies and producers we look up to. Sure, it may be like lame, but, it's good money. Why not?
Yeah.
Like we're not above doing that. It's part of our business, and it's like another one of the points in there. You're not going to like everything that you do. That's the same for us, and it's the same for the big guys.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a fact. They don't like it. There's this dream of like, I think a lot of people go full-time audio and they're like, oh, I don't really like this miserable, like a lot of stuff I don't really care for, and you can sort of, that ratio can change over time. You get better artists and more talented artists as you get more experienced and more connected to people, but in general, that's still going to be part of it, there's just some stuff that like, I'm going to take that project so I can buy that guitar, and that's the same for little guys and big guys.
Yep. You got to fund it.
You got to fund it, man. I think some people are really afraid to like, it's going to tarnish their brand or stuff like that. It's like, nobody ever has to know about those projects.
Yeah, exactly.
Those,
You don't have to advertise
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
took.
Like somebody in the middle of nowhere doing a demo with you is, it's probably not going to. And people aren't going to find out. Who cares? I mean, we're a service business. We just, as long as they're stoked, we did our job. You know what I mean? So that's that. So yeah, I think I. Oh, so the story. Oh, so I said at the end about people, above you who actually may think it's cool. So when I was in Los Angeles, I interviewed to be at I think it was an internship or maybe it was paid for a songwriter, a notable songwriter, and I had to go through like 3 interviews first to even get to the guy. And some of these interviews were with other very notable songwriters who had a company, so I'd go through the company to interview them, and go with like his assistant, and then finally him. And what was interesting is like, so they ask you what you're doing, they expect to hear, I interned here, and the sort of normal path. And I just told them, I was like, well, I built this website. I'm a producer, I'm a track guy, and I built this website, and I wake up and I just check my emails, and I get these projects and I do them, and that's how I make my cash. And they were like more interested in talking about that than they were like interviewing me for the job. And then I finally got to the main writer for the interview. And he's like, you should keep doing it. He's like, don't stop that and come intern for me. He's like, keep doing your thing. You build something, keep doing that. Don't give that up. He's like, I'm not going to hire you because I know, he's like, I just don't think it's a good idea. It's for you to leave that and interview with me or intern with me. So I was like, okay,
That's very flattering.
it's interesting, yeah. I was like, really? Like, I don't want to talk about my dumb website. I want to talk about interviewing with these these hit makers, man. You know.
Well, what they probably saw is one thing that I've noticed is people who have experience. It goes a long way with them if they see you fucking doing it yourself and not holding your hand out and not like if you don't go into those. I imagine just from meeting you today, I can't imagine you going into a scenario just asking for a bunch of shit from them or what you're going to be able to gain other than like an education or experience, because I feel like a lot of people in our general age group, especially in this fucking business, they go out with their hands out saying, so what can you do for me? It's not like, if I were to walk into a situation like that, it's like, what can I do for you to where I can soak up all the fucking knowledge that you have?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you were already probably 3 steps or 4 steps ahead of most people who are interviewing for that position.
Yeah, and I think that, like, and not that maybe I would have brought super value to them except just doing whatever the job they needed to be done. But in general, that's always been my way of doing things. I'm a believer in buying your friends, and that sounds bad, but what I mean by that is when I got my first internship, this is back in North Carolina at a commercial studio there, and the guy was generally never into internships. He's not into it. So I paid for a session to like show him that I knew what I was doing, you know? And then when I got the internship, I immediately started bringing clients in there. I was like, if I just like bring money in the studio, whether he likes me or not, he's not going to kick me out, you know? So, you know, I was talking to a kid today I had a meeting with, and I was like, yeah, if you want to like meet these writers, like everybody's out meeting these writers at writers' rounds, like hire one of them for a session vocal. Even if it's not even like a real gig, just make a gig up.
Money fucking talks.
Yeah, it's like, because then you're in this new, so I'm not meaning buying your friends with like, you know, corrupt government ways of buying your friend, but you know what I mean.
Exactly.
It's like now you're in a different circle. Now you're in a like, oh, okay, this kid can like bring some dough to the table. Like
time is valuable. Time costs money.
Yeah, so that's always been my approach, man. My our business partner on a couple of our businesses now. He's a great mixer. Mixes big clients, and we just brought him work. That was my first interaction with him. I was like, hey man, I think your stuff is really cool. I'd like to hire you for work. And now he's our go-to guy. Now we pretty much pay him a salary. So it worked out for both of us. You know, we have a who's been just a great kind of mentor in the industry. Obviously, a business partner on other things, and a great mixer and a great friend. But you know, it's like any other producer. Like, hey, help me mix. You know, it's like that doesn't do anything for him. Like, go to the YouTube. He built a YouTube channel for you. Go watch the videos. Don't bother him. You know.
Yeah.
We came into it as with the, hey, you know, we're not big time, but we could probably shuffle a couple projects your way if you're interested. And,
what can we do for you?
Yeah. So 100%. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's got to be, and that was the one thing I think that's been kind of liberating, especially that I've realized over these past 6 months. Everybody's just trying to really feed themselves doing this. Sure. So if you got some money that you can squirrel away and that you can pay to have things done correctly, then you're opening yourself up to a bunch of new opportunities.
Right. And everybody has different backgrounds, you know, and some people just like legit don't have the money. Maybe they really hustle and work and have good ideas and stuff, and maybe it's, you know, they come to me with that and say, hey, I can't fund this thing, but I'll run it, and I got this idea, and, you know, I want to use one of your platforms to help launch it, and I'm always looking for that kind of stuff too. So, but yeah, you can't just be like we get them every day, man. Like, I'll bring one up after so you can see like some of the awesome emails we get. Mm-hmm. Just like, hi, need job, you know. It's like literally shit like that.
Really?
It's like, no. It's not gonna happen, you know?
Yeah.
Some bad ones, man. Even like people that like have like Berkeley, you know, went to Berkeley and shit. I'm like, man, they didn't teach you how to write a fucking email? Like,
well, that's the other funny thing.
Maybe they went to the summer camp. Maybe they didn't go to the whole
You have to have some kind of people skills. Like, it's
Absolutely.
so important that you have at least a little bit of a business sense. Either you have to have a really good business sense and a little bit of talent, or a lot of talent and a little bit of business sense.
Or a partner that has it. Yeah, if
yeah,
some people
exactly.
just like really don't have it, then they got to get a partner.
Yeah.
At some point to do that. You know, and me and my business partner are kind of that way. Not that he's got, you know, some business sense, but in general, it's not his thing, and he's sort of the quiet, creative type, and I get the gigs, and he does the gigs, and we complement each other well. You know, so yeah, if someone, because a lot of people are just probably sitting and they're gonna listen to me like, man, I just really blow at the business side. Like, am I doomed? You know, it's like not necessarily. You just got to get a partner. You know, you
Yeah.
gotta make it work. Find someone who is great at the business side.
It's like things start opening up to you through time. It's not fucking instant. It's not just gonna happen overnight.
Sure.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Like recently, I was working at a logistics company, and I fucking hated my job. I was miserable. I was working like 60 hours a week. Things into there, I was just like, fuck this. I can no longer do this. My soul was dying.
Yeah. Sure.
With what I was doing, and I was just like, and on the other hand, I really wasn't working on music stuff either, and I was in a weird situation with a roommate that I really didn't fucking like, and it was just like everything about.
So if you're
Nashville.
listening right now,
yeah, fuck you.
That's what he really thinks.
But I just knew that there had to be some kind of change in my life, and I mean, it was a semi-chosen / semi-forced leap of faith. And I don't have a day job right now. I don't know how I'm going to be able to pay my rent in October yet. I have everything. I pretty much had all my bills paid through September. I was like, fuck it, I'm going for it. I can't keep dwelling on this, and I can't keep wondering if it's going to happen. I'm just going to have to fail at it. And if I fail, then I'll just move back in with my parents for the 10,000th time.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yep, and we're lucky that we can.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, even that I've gotten this far, it feels like a gift. Like any failure that comes my way, like you probably have this opinion. Being like a business owner, you can't fucking see failure as a fear. You have to fucking fail. You have to screw up. You have to skin your knee. You have to find out not to touch that hot stove.
Yeah.
At least I did.
Sure.
I'm dumb with some things. Like I just have to learn through doing it. Other things, I think it's important to learn from a win. Like I read Ronda Rousey's book. Do you like Ronda Rousey at all?
I'm not a big reader, but
Okay, so
Give me
Ronda
the cliff
Rousey,
notes.
yeah, her mom was like this crazy like judo instructor. I think
Okay.
she won like in the fucking like judo world championships. But her mom is like world class. But her mom always told her like it's more it's like just as important to learn from a win, or it's easier to learn from a win than it is from a loss. And I think it's also easier to learn from someone else's loss. Like when I'm looking around, I'm seeing people who are just fucking cutting people's throats left and right and not giving a fuck.
And I don't know where you hang out.
Yeah.
Remind me not to go there.
Yeah, no, I just feel like I've been in this pit of Nashville and I've had a miserable fucking time. But I just feel like one day, like the hangman's gonna come for them, and it's not gonna ever end well. It doesn't end well when you treat people like garbage.
Yeah, man. Shit.
Yeah.
Make
So
a list of those places, so I'll never.
yeah, I'll let you know. Which brings us to our next point number 3. Be self-aware and assemble your dream team. If you suck at something, then get over it. Don't try to do that part because it will make you and your clients miserable. Always hire people better than you and make it worth their time to be involved, even if it means giving up some stake in your company. Not to be confused with steak, which you eat. You should never give that up. Eat that.
Yes. Very important. Need to make sure people got that. Yeah, I wrote that one for me. For me to go back and reread and say, okay, well, I said that to other people, so now I got to do it. Yeah, like, so running a business, the first sort of hurdle, which I haven't accomplished yet, is hiring people is a very hard thing. And we've had some employees and have come and gone, and part-time, full-time. It's a tough thing. Because now someone else's shit's, like, matter. You know, now someone else's life is, like...
In your hands.
Sort of,
Yeah.
In a dramatic way.
You're responsible
for
for
their
it.
well-being for
Yeah.
at least the period of time they're working for you. And I change my mind often, you know. Like, oh, we're going to go this direction now, and this doesn't fit into the bottom line anymore, so sorry, you know. So that makes me scared to hire people, which I need to be doing right now, because, first part of that, like, I blow at project management. I can set up the process, I can train someone how to do it. When it comes to me, it's very tough for me to do, like, the the grit work, you know, the day-to-day sort of operation stuff as the owner of the company. You know, I need to be doing big picture stuff, you know, and growing at big picture. So I don't like to do it, so I put it off. You know, it's a very important part of our business.
Yeah.
We're a project-based service company in general. So yeah, man, it's just about like knowing what you aren't good at and firing yourself from that position. You know, I fire myself all the time. You know, so we're in a thing now of either hiring someone or my business partner's going to take over some of the project stuff. As I just, you know, came in and I was like, I'm firing myself from this. Like, I'm doing a shitty job at it. You know, our old project manager is great. He killed it. I'm not the guy for this. So if you think you can do it, cool. If we need to hire somebody, we'll hire someone. So yeah, it's just, in the beginning, you kind of got to do it all by yourself. And I did for the first two years before I got a partner. I did do it all myself. And but eventually it's tough to, and I'm not an expert. I shouldn't even be talking about this, but my experience is it's tough to sort of let go of some of the things and like, it's like, these are things I know I shouldn't be doing, but I have a trust issue letting someone else doing them, and that shit can really hold you back from growing, and I'm saying that out loud, so I can go back and listen to this later and be like, listen to yourself, dumbass, and actually do what you're saying.
So what exactly do you mean by project management? Do you mean someone like overseeing, okay, so we have to track the drums this day, we have to record this, we have to hire these musicians?
You know, it's sort of easier because we're track guys. It's pretty much one guy making the track.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not even that many people involved. It's usually about 3 people involved. So where it gets a little tough is this is online collaboration. And we do high volume work. So at any given time, there's probably 20 to 50 songs we're working on with 2 people. Really one guy that does the actual music stuff, and then we have a mixer that we contract and a songwriter that we contract. So it's just a lot of like a little task to anybody else. You'd see, oh, like change the vocal up, like that's not a big, you know, or boost the volume on a vocal, that's not a big deal. Except like it has to go through 50 million people if the process isn't great, you know, and like, oh well, that fell through the crack. We forgot to turn their vocal up because somebody didn't get the email to the right person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that kind of just like day-to-day stuff that
Sure.
I'm just like not kind of really. I'm interested. I don't want to say I'm not interested in, as in I don't care. I do care. It's an important part about the client. You know, important part of the client experience and them getting their stuff done. And but for me, it's just not a primary focus as a.
You've got
business owner.
bigger fish to fry.
Sure, different other things that I'm needed more on.
That actually need you.
Sure,
That's
that's
something
where
that you
project
can-
management, you know, can be kind of taught for the most part.
Yeah, something you can delegate out to someone.
Sure. So that's what it is. Just a lot of like just little revisions and tweaks that shouldn't be a problem, but it's when there's 100 of them at a time, it can get a little.
It's a lot to manage.
Crazy of like, oh, did that get done? Did that not get done? You know. And we have the systems in place. There's great software for that kind of stuff and keeping up with it. But someone has to run it. You know,
Yeah.
Still be human error. So that's not my strong points. I think the biggest thing is just like you could also go like deeper than that, and like there's just like a lot of people who want to be like, this is gonna sound kind of shitty, but they want to be producers and engineers that just like they're just not cut out for it. You know what I mean? Like they're like, to me. As I get a lot of people asking me, they want to do this, figure out how to do it for a living or whatever, and I'm humbled that they're asking me, other people they could ask. But, it's like, well, is your shit that good, Like, if your shit's not good, you can't expect, like, there's just not a lot of room for being mediocre in music, like, to make a living. Anybody can play, and that's a lot of people just love it, love the hobby, and get the happiness out of that. But if you want to do it for a living, it's very tough to do, and there just isn't a lot of room for the ones that aren't that great,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not possible, but that's the first thing, and I'm wasn't the best producer engineer, you know what I mean? I didn't see myself like making a mark in the world that way, even though I love doing it, And started the business in the first 2 years, got clients with what I was able to achieve, but I wanted to hire someone better than me, I want my production team to be the best, so I got to hire kids that are better than me, and do that. So yeah, man, that's being self-aware of.
That kind of reminds me of something that Richard Branson says. I always love reading his articles on LinkedIn because he always has he's so fucking mindful and self-aware of everything that he does.
Yeah.
And if there was a point in his time which he talks about, like, I was really bad at this. Like, he's dyslexic. I don't know. If
Right,
you
yeah,
knew
yeah.
that. But he's like, numbers is always something that troubled me. I was good at the creative stuff, but when I had to fucking do any of the counting, I always failed miserably at it. So eventually I was able to hire someone else to do it because it's not my strength.
Right.
And I think there's this tendency with music where I know there's a lot of artists, especially very talented ones who are multi-instrumentalists, they can play everything, they can write everything. Just because you can play and write everything doesn't necessarily mean that you should.
Yeah.
Like
That you have to.
Yeah, unless you have to, and at some point, hopefully you're able to like farm that out to other people. I mean, my personal dream would be to own my own fucking studio and be able to cut to tape. That's the dream.
Cool,
But
yeah.
do it in like a cool modern way. Like all my heroes growing up were like Mark Ronson, Danger Mouse, Phil Spector, like producers who are like auteurs, you know, who have like almost like Quentin Tarantino. Like, I fucking love Quentin Tarantino.
Thing, yeah.
Because he's so stylized and so himself. Like, I mean, I could write something and pass it along to somebody, and you could have true romance. But like, I'm better off like being the writer and director and having Pulp Fiction and just having whatever lens it is through that artist. So I don't know, what were your kind of experiences growing up, and how did you know that this was something that you wanted to do? Who were your influences? How did it all start?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I started playing music really young, as a kid, and it was sort of this is going to sound like totally like VH1 behind the music bullshit. I was like, man, I hope he wasn't going to ask that, but, so it was a way for me to deal with childhood abuse. That was my first introduction to music. It was around, and it was something to do to distract, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I got into playing guitar. You know, my family was kind of a musical family, so there was always instruments around. We had a piano and stuff. You know, I think that because I've done a ton of other like jobs and other things in my life.
Yep.
And music's just the only thing I've actually stuck to for a long period of time. But as far as influences, it really changed over the years, man. I had, I think, just like a lot of people, kind of phases. You know, phases that I went through. But I was like, I don't know, man. I was kind of weird. I'm not like a. It's a good or bad thing, but I never really had a lot of like heroes or anything like that.
Sure.
You know,
I don't think that's
there's
a bad
any
thing.
musicians that like are just like, whoa, that's my hero. I mean, I would go through there's a ton of people I love. You know, I was never into like superheroes. I don't know. I was never into the hero thing or like that's my guy. You know, like that's the thing. But it sounds kind of douchey, doesn't it? I mean,
No, I think, especially someone
I'm above
who's-
having a hero. I can't think. There's nobody that like instantly pops in my head like that's the influence, man. Like that's
Sure.
yeah. I never really like had that. I think maybe I'm just too ADD. I'd get on to someone else like the next week, you know.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, what they're doing's cool, and then the next week, oh, what they're doing's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just sort of create this hodgepodge of influences from all over the place, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was all very experience influenced when I was young, you know, kid and a teenager playing in bands. And then yeah, I just got the music was the only thing that I had done for that long. Everything else I would commit to for a year and then quit. You know.
What are some other jobs that you've had?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I'll also say that all of my success in doing this building company was 100% from these other jobs and not from anything in music.
I
Ever.
fucking love hearing that. Yes, because you have other skills in life that you learned how to apply.
This isn't really shit you learn in music business, man.
No.
You learn it. So, so I went to rehab when I was 18. After about 4 years playing in bands. So I got clean very early. So I think that was one of the things you have to get going through that process. It's 100% self-awareness shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little lame having to do it at 18. You're like, fuck, man, I'm not going to do this grown-up shit right now. You know, I just want to be a kid. So you have to kind of grow up quick, be that self-aware quickly. So that was good. I kind of got to like sort of figure out like, okay, what am I really good at and what do I suck at? Like I'm here, like I'm a month sober from being a drug addict, and now I'm 18, so I'm an adult, so I can go to jail for things, and like, it's time to like actually be an adult now, I guess, is where a lot of my other friends had to get another, 4 or 5 years to kind of out partying and stuff. I was like, shit, I can't hang with them. So I went into sales, just because that's kind of where drug addicts go when they get clean. We like fast-paced shit, and we can talk a lot, and we're driven by instant gratification. So I was led to that. I did everything from selling home good stuff to advertising in magazines, and eventually ended up went into hair care industry, and then I ended up in the end in real estate marketing. So that was kind of my first like big job before I went into music full time, and that's like where I learned everything. That's where I learned, because being an agent's very similar to being like a producer. You're a lifestyle brand. You're your personal brand. You have to you have to find your clients. You have to manage your stuff,
pipeline.
Your pipeline, 100%. So it was the same thing. So I was like, well, I'm just going to put a website up like I used to do for these agents. It's just slightly tweaked a little bit. We're just going after a different kind of market. So those are my jobs, just random stuff, and I always end up being like miserable at those jobs,
Hey, fucking man.
But I loved what I learned from it. That was my college, And then I sort of just applied that stuff to our music thing. I feel like it gave me a competitive edge for sure. I mean, you don't learn that shit in the music industry. I mean, I'm trying to make videos and teach people and stuff, just the basic crap I know, but just because they're not going to learn it from, they got these schools sort of telling like, you're gonna, you just get out and get a job at a studio, and like most of these studios aren't even viable businesses, It's like kind of a bummer, I mean, whatever. I can't really say, some of our companies are partnered with schools, so I can't say anything specific. I love, I'm excited. I want to start speaking at some of the schools, just being on little panels or whatever, just because I think it'd be fun just to sort of like talk to. I'm just curious to know, like, what do y'all like think y'all are gonna like do? Like, what's kind of y'all's plan? I'm just curious to ask like a group of 30 kids what it is. I'm just curious to know.
Man, I don't think it's good, or I don't think it's necessarily realistic.
I think this is totally guessing. I think there'll be a couple winners in each class, and I think that's the same for everything.
That's true. Yeah, it's just like, and you learn that from sales. It's like a numbers game. I have a sales background too. Like,
cool.
So I didn't go to college. Did you go to college?
No, I had a couple brief stints. And kind of, again, didn't commit to it. Like
I was just like, peace. Got something else to do.
I would do a couple semesters, and did, but
I basically what I did after I graduated high school was I was in retail for 4 years at various places throughout the United States. I was down in Florida. I fucking lived out in Colorado for a little while. Lived in actually Wilmington. That's where my mom's from. She's from
cool.
North Carolina.
Carolina Beach, represent. Right below y'all. That's where I used to spend my summers. Yeah.
So I'd always done retail, and towards the end of my last retail job, I was working at Staples. So I was working at Staples.
The enemy.
Yeah.
I'll explain that in a second.
And I got a fucking internship at this place called BEK, which was an IT company. All these people came in. They should be like, you should be a salesman. You should do sales. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, whatever. I didn't realize that sales was like a real career. Like I always just thought of like retail sales.
Yeah.
And they were like, you should do it. And I applied to BEK. I got an internship there. I was an intern, I don't know, for like 6 months. So I was working 7 days a week at Staples and at this place BEK. So basically I would work 3 days a week there, and the other 4 days I would work at Staples. And eventually they just started upping me more and more, and I was like working normal office hours Monday through Friday, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. Not working in retail anymore. And eventually they offered me a job, and they were like, we don't want you to be a tech though, we want you to do sales, because we're going to start doing sales at our company, and we want like a sales team. So my first thing was selling like these things, MFPs, like these giant fucking copiers whenever you go into like a doctor's office. So eventually that evolved into selling IT and managed services. And eventually I was just like, well, I want to move away from Maine and I want to do music. So I was like, I'll move to Nashville, which has always been in the back of my mind. I always thought I'd move down to Nashville. So I moved down to Nashville, started working at a logistics company doing sales, and that was a phone sales job, 100%. And it's so fucking important to be good on the phone.
Yeah, man.
You gotta be good on the phone. You gotta be a
100%.
good listener.
Yep.
Did you ever have any sales jobs where you're on the phone?
Most of them involve the phone. Yeah.
Cold calling?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You learn
You're talking my language
pretty
now.
tough. Tough skin pretty quickly.
Oh, you learn all about fucking rejection.
Yeah.
That's what prepped me for music.
It's my dad bringing up the Staples things. My dad is some fancy sales job at Office Depot, which Office Max are both the same.
Yeah.
They're teaming up against the enemy. He sold copiers. That's what he did. Like when I was a kid, you know. And then he ended up working in for Office Depot. He does like high level stuff, like the states and shit.
Yeah, like the corporate level.
Yeah, nothing to do with the stores. We only get a 10% discount, so it's kind of lame. But yeah, he's like, sales is just a game, you know. Like nobody really gets their feelings hurt. Like, you know, it's just a game. Play it and
yeah.
Yeah, I used to write it on this little notepad. He's a notepad guy, and I sort of adopted that from him. So there's like stacks of junk everywhere, notepads full of notes and crap, and there you just write. It's just a game on the top of the paper every notepad, you know, and yeah, it is, you know, and it's definitely easier. Like it's way easier for me in the music stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Like I don't even consider it sales. It's just so natural. The
Yeah.
other stuff, when you're selling other people's stuff, it is a little different. You gotta like.
It's harder almost to sell other people's
you gotta
stuff.
really get to know it and get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once you get into it, you can speak the language, and you're pretty much a replication of your sales manager or CEO or whatever. So it's yeah, I love it. I love that part. It's great. It's my favorite part, man.
It's the
That's
thrill
my
of the
role.
hunt.
Yeah. It's like I think that we can do this better, and this is why, and you know, and they either say yes or no, and you know, it is what it is.
Move
but,
on. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Rejection happens.
Yeah.
I think it's so important because so many people who do this, as I'm sure you're well aware of, they don't have that thick skin. Like they're artistic, they're creative, and they want to express themselves. They're trying to figure themselves out.
It's another catch-22, you
Yeah.
know, because sometimes for people to, that's why I really think partnerships and teams come into play, because maybe that particular artist shouldn't have thick skin. Maybe
Yeah.
that would fuck their art up. Maybe they
Yeah,
need to be
totally.
sort of fragile.
You're the
and vulnerable,
interference.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe them having thick skin isn't a good thing. So in that case, again, having someone that can kind of help
Protect them.
protect
Shield them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. That's why, man, mixing business and art is a weird thing.
Yeah. It's hard.
You know. So yeah.
Point number 4.
All right.
You're not going to enjoy every project that you work on. This isn't always a glamorous business or in the service industry. It's just that art is involved, so it makes it more complicated. That goes for us small timers and the big timers. Seriously, ask one of them.
Yeah. I mean, you can only do projects you love. You'll just be broke. You know.
Yeah.
There's maybe like 2 guys maybe that that do that. I think in general we just love doing music, and we don't really like much of anything else. So it never really sucks, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if the artist isn't your favorite, or it's in a genre that you don't really see yourself making your mark in, it's still better than other things, moving boxes. Maybe it isn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have plenty of friends too that are like, nah, I just can't record like that stuff. Like I'd rather work a day gig and record just either my bands or like stuff I really want to be passionate about. And I think that's 100% a way to do it.
I think that's legitimate
100%.
too.
Yep, absolutely. I 100% get that. Absolutely. So like that's the thing. Like people are, well, I want to do it full time. It's like maybe you don't, man. Like it's not what you think it is. Like you're not gonna love every set. And even my friends that have #1 mixes, you know, they're great mixing engineers. You know, those label things aren't what pays most of their bills. One, it takes like a year to get paid. So what do you do in the meantime? You're doing just independent stuff, and some of it's cool, and you can really get behind it and get behind the artist, and some of it's just like, I bet I can get that done in about 4 hours, and I'm gonna get $500. Sure, why not? You have a skill, and somebody wants that skill. Not everybody's gonna be the best in the world, So
well, it's more hours that you're putting in. I think I'm a really big fan of the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. He talks about the 10,000 hour rule. And it's like
Yeah.
it takes 10,000 hours to master any art form, no matter what it is. Like if you're gonna be selling fucking copiers or if you're gonna be in the music business, it takes 10,000 hours to do it.
And some natural.
Yeah, and a little bit of natural
I
ability.
don't know if I could be a pro soccer player.
No. You have to have like a natural inclination
Sure,
towards
yeah.
something.
Yeah. That's why I was telling I've had folks that sometimes they get a little bummed doing something and they're just like, man, I really don't do this. It's paid practice. Just look at it as paid practice.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck around with a new plugin that you don't really get to use, like on a session where you really need to be focused on doing your thing and. Go download some free trials of some plugins. You can use this time to play around with it and explore that while you're doing this project that you're not particularly into and pay practice.
Take
People
advantage.
would kill for that.
Yeah.
People would kill. There's people
Oh
that would
fuck
kill
yeah,
for
I
that.
would kill for that.
Yeah, people kill for that. So yeah, it's all attitude really, and I get it. There's plenty of stuff. There's stuff sitting on our books right now that I just really don't want to do.
Yeah.
It's paid practice, but I'm really pushing. Going to the last minute to go in and sing that vocal or something that just I'm the only guy around that can do it. So I'll just I get it could be tough. I'm not saying it doesn't suck sometimes. Doing some stuff that you may not really prefer, especially if there's a big kind of string of it. It just so happens that all those projects fall into 1 week. You're like, it's just been a great week, but
you just gotta power the fuck through it.
Yeah,
and push forward.
Just make them happy, and they may know someone that's awesome, and because you made them happy, they tell them, and you never know who leads to what. So
yeah, I really dig that. I think you have to have the power of positivity in everything that you do.
Yeah,
because there are gonna be some days, like every morning, every week. I start off, I just think, okay, it's Monday, time to make a fucking dollar. Yeah. Monday is the greatest day of the week. You're not going to get another Monday until a week from now. You have a jump on everything that you need to do today. Mm-hmm. Start planning it out. So I guess one thing that I want to talk to you about is kind of like your metrics. Like what is your average day? Not that there is really an average day, but what do you do like every morning? You make a cup of coffee, you do a to-do list, and then go from there, or how do you
wish
do
I had
it?
a good answer. It's like 5 a.m. You're at the gym, right? And you do meditation. Yeah. No, I'm pretty terrible at that. Probably should get more into that. I think we're still a little bit in the phase of controlled chaos. Just my fault. But in general, so Christian's usually in sessions all day. 8 to 12 hours. You should go past. So we don't do stay up super late in sessions shit if we don't have to. Just because it's like this is online stuff.
Yeah.
So they don't know what we're doing. If we had like a artist in or something, they wanted to go on. That could be fun and so But we're just doing this stuff for online folks. So it's pretty easy to schedule. You usually can do about 2 a day, and then our other guys, our mixers and writers, also have their own schedules. So Christian's just pretty much in the studio. So my schedule bounces between, so I'm pretty much just on the laptop all day, or on the phone. And it's balances between, lead follow-up stuff, project management right now, which I shouldn't be doing, and with some of our other companies' product development. So I do a lot of I'm the face of it, So I do a lot of I'm the one kind of out talking to people. And by out talking to people, I mean behind my laptop on the internet.
Yeah. The new out talking
the virtual
to people.
out talking to people. Seeing other producers that have my eye. There's 10 people right now that I have my eye on that are young up and coming kids that are either putting together cool products, cool sample packs, or courses, or really hustling gigs, or have a cool sound. I'm just always watching these kids for the right moment to kind of say, hey, fucking offer assistance. So I do a lot of, hunting, I guess. Seems like a creepy word for it, but just being aware of what's going on and sales and fall asleep at some point. So every once in a while I'll drive myself to the gym, which I should do more of. Every once in a while I'll have a healthy meal and do all the other shit that entrepreneurs say to do. And but yeah, man, it's nothing glamorous really.
Yeah.
I don't travel the world. I'm actually just not a big traveler guy. You
Yeah.
know? Like some people, that's like they want to be entrepreneurs so they can travel. I'm sort of scared of planes, so I don't really fuck with that.
I don't want to fucking leave my apartment ever. I just like.
I'm a little bit of a hermit, you know. I drive, so I go back and forth between Charlotte and Nashville.
How often do you do that?
Like a couple weeks, or just when I get bored at one, I go back to the other. And that's where my family friends are, so I can kind of just like not talk about music with them and talk about insurance or something else. But yeah, that's really what a day looks like for me, man. It's just because it's only really two of us and some contractors. You know, I'm sort of doing all of it, so it's just a lot of admin stuff, really. So my goal is to kind of move out of that a little bit, because I want to spend more time on content stuff is what I love doing. So doing our videos for all the channels, getting other content creators, doing the blog posts, doing the marketing, doing that stuff. So I do a little bit of that, but it's not as much as I'd like to. So we have a company that helps with that stuff. So it's stuff is getting done, but I want to be more involved in that. So.
In the creative.
Yeah, more on the content.
Yeah, the product.
Side. So yeah, that's it, man. Nothing. No magical routines.
Yeah.
Still working on that myself, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's hard. It's so hard to stick to that. I think that's one thing that it's easy to trip yourself up on. For me, I definitely like being on a schedule. Like, I like having everything just lined up perfectly through me, but there's no real way. You can plan, but there's no real way to fucking stick to it because 10,000 things happen throughout the day.
Yeah,
that require your attention.
It's just again, part of that is like being a good delegator, which I'm learning. You know, like having someone to take care of that shit for you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to like get caught up in a little ass thing that takes an hour, and you're just like, I just wasted an hour on something that anybody could have done, you know. And then the other thing is just like having self-discipline, you know. Being an entrepreneur and having it's huge. And I'm not the guy, don't ask me any more about it, because I'm not the guy to talk about it. But I know that it's something that for me personally isn't something that comes very naturally, unfortunately. I have some buddies that really are pretty good at it. Screw them, and you just do your best. That goes back to point one. Nobody's perfect, and you know, you'll have something that you do better than them. And double down on that. And I don't remember what the next one was.
Hold on, let me see. I think I might have. Oh, okay. Here's one that I really like and I relate to a lot.
Okay.
Get a mentor who has done it. Internet marketers can teach you the surface shit and they charge you money for it, but mentors can show you the
grit
and hold you accountable. I just relate to that. Like, I've always had mentors. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, you know, and I can't say I don't have them now. I mean, I had a couple definitive ones. Maybe when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't seem, and then you look back, that person kind of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But you know, probably be a good idea to sort of look into, you know, actively seek one out. So my first mentor was one of my first jobs out of. My parents were pretty great mentors, but my first sort of outside the family one was the guy at the salon when I worked in the hair industry. And he ran a business for a long time and built up a reputation as a colorist who did the color stuff. And yeah, that was the first time I really learned about reputation and, you know, doing what you say you're going to do and kind of how to run a business and all that stuff. He was a good mentor for learning, you know, for kind of me getting to watch that, what a one-man show looks like, what a successful one-man show looks like, and how he spends his time and how the client is everything, and obviously a service industry, how, you know, he was, you know, getting older, so how do you stay relevant, how do you stay, you know, do that stuff in kind of a quick moving industry. So he was the first, and then my boss at the studio I worked at in Charlotte was a great mentor too, just for recording, how to hang on a session, how to, like, you know.
That's an art form in itself, is how to be a good hanger.
Yeah. And just the main, you know, the reason I can give him beyond all the other stuff that he did for me that just put me in situations to learn, which is really what I think a good mentor does. It wasn't like he gave me these spiritual talks or anything. He just he took chances on me. He's like, hey, this band I'm touring with him. He's a drummer too. I'm touring with him, and we need a guitar player. So learn these 10 songs, and you can come along and put me in a situation where I can learn and do a good job, and it's like mentors aren't going to give you opportunities necessarily. They're going to empower you to do the work to be able to earn your own opportunity.
Very true.
I guess playing in that gig was an opportunity, but the point of it was to say, hey, if you can nail this and impress some people, maybe someone else picks you up to do something cool. And then he also said the LA thing, which I struggle with. Do I want to go out there? He was like, if you never do it, sometimes you can learn from your mentors what they didn't do. Yeah. And I don't think that he regrets not going out there, but a fair amount of his friends that went to LA in that time in the 90s are big guys now. And I'm sure sometimes he's like, oh, what could have happened? But he has an awesome career in the studio, so he's fine. But he said if you never go, if you don't go now, you'll never do it, most likely. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So he drove out there with me.
Wow.
So here's a couple of dudes I know, and have fun.
That's amazing. I think that's a true testament, of someone's work ethic and character. And also, if you have that mentor, your work ethic and character and kind of what they see in you. Yeah. It's super valuable, I think, to have someone that you can really learn from. I've always had...
With he got nothing back. I mean, I helped on sessions and stuff, and maybe he felt good about himself or something. It's not, he wasn't...
He wanted to see you succeed.
I wasn't paying him, $9.99 a month to, be a part of his program, He just...
He genuinely wanted to see you do well.
Absolutely. And now I've come, I do a very different thing from what he in his studio does, but now I get to say, hey, you're a drummer, we have a drum sample company, and I get to cut him checks every month, and that's kind of cool.
Full circle.
Yeah, I like to, it's not much, but it's,
it's something.
It's to him, he's oh, shit, that's cool.
That's one little slice of income. I think now with music, you have to have a bunch of hustles. You can't just be unless you're fucking Beyonce, and even she has more stuff than that. You have to have many different avenues, many revenue streams. I guess that's where the sales and the business comes in. You can't just have one fucking company that you're working with. You might have one company that you're working with who's bringing in 60% of your income, but what about that other 40%? How are you going to pay for your groceries? Yeah, you're paying for your rent and your phone bill, but how are you going to pay for everything else?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's cool to have your hands in a couple different things if it's authentic, if it's and some people do want their mixer and they make 6 figures a year mixing. Cool, got buddies like that.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
They're not good examples of because they actually do other stuff, but they could only do mixing. But for me, I just am genuinely interested in that kind of stuff. I like building little companies, and it's cool when you can get in a position to sort of to do it, and not my life doesn't depend on whether the sample company does anything this month. We're in a position to where our main income comes from. I mean, our main income comes from one place. A very big majority of it. That's the one to watch if something goes wrong. That's always the important one. But it allows us to toy around with some other things, and maybe one of those things takes off. That's just I'm into that kind of stuff, so it's fun to me. I don't think everybody needs to start forward companies or something. You know what I mean, and run themselves.
Not everybody can.
Yeah. I haven't proven that I can.
Yeah,
we'll find out. So yeah, man. But I think I wouldn't. Be open to it at least, Say, okay, well, I can do some front of house mixing and playing in bands, It's okay, well, maybe only 20% of my income comes from playing in my band, but, I get the other 80% from being a front of house engineer. That doesn't suck. I get to meet other bands. And,
and you don't know what opportunities pop up through that.
Yeah. I think one of the benefits is, what's interesting about having, we have 4 different companies, it's like anything else. One of them makes about 80%, and the others are sort of they're newer. 1 and 2 kind of more long-term things. But sometimes a client for company A finds us because of company D, you know? So if anything, it's just another lead generator, you know? And sometimes there's someone that comes in that fits into 3 out of those 4 companies. They could benefit from 3 of those things. And like, you know, so that's, there's just more opportunity that way, you know? So that's cool, yeah. I forgot what the point was. What was it?
Now, the one we were just on?
Yeah, what was it?
Mentors.
That was the mentor one.
Yeah,
Got
okay.
it, got it,
So
got
this
it.
next one is, speaking of internet marketers, get good at the internet.
Yeah.
Stop watching production tutorials for a minute. Your shit sounds good, bro. Focus on a wee bit more on how to get work and build a brand on the web.
Sure. So these are people who obviously want to do, you know, want to do a service industry. You know, I think if it's like maybe a producer, like a kind of more on the EDM, like producer. Who, it's a tough term, man. It's tough because when we say producer now, that could be, you know, more of an artist route kind of producer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's what a lot of artists are now.
Right. So it's less for them, you know. Maybe for them it is just studying those production stories and getting this, you know, developing their sound. More for the people that like, hey, yeah, I can produce I want to produce tracks for someone, you know, or I want to whatever. So that applies to anybody that has a music service or photography.
I'm an artist. Yeah, anybody.
Yeah, really anybody. Yeah, man. I mean, it's just like you change the game when you expand your audience. You know, like being good at the internet allows us to do cool shit. Like, you know, we have our we have our production tutorials. So don't stop watching ours. Stop watching ours. We have production tutorials that we always sell. And because we have an audience that buys them, we're in a unique position to give the artist, whoever song we use, one of our clients, a royalty from those sales. Just like cool shit like that. Like who can do that shit? You know what I mean? The guys have an audience. Like it's like building. It's like what record labels like did in the past. They built their business, and because they had the infrastructure, they could do cool things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just puts you in a cool position. Like if you have an audience of whatever 30,000, 50,000 people for whatever it is, whatever platform, that's a benefit for someone to maybe do their project with you over the other guy.
Yeah.
Because you have a built-in audience to your shit right there.
Yep.
And now you're saying you have a built-in audience that can like, I can get a royalty as a band from some, you know, like it just allows you to do cool stuff. Like whoever has the audience now wins, and the easiest way to get an audience, you know, is online. Obviously, more people. I mean, a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's where people are, man. It's like the artists. You know, the artists are on there because they're on there promoting themselves. So you go to where your, you know, potential customer or client is, and most of them are going to be on the web. You know, and that doesn't mean, you know, and that can still be leveraged for local stuff, of course, but that was sort of geared at the, you know, the kid who's in Idaho or maybe up in Maine, a small town, thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to make it if I'm not somewhere
I need some
else.
help. Yeah.
Be like, nah, man, you got the internet. Like, you can be fucking anywhere.
Yeah,
I
that's very true.
Our clients will never have to know where I am, you know.
Yeah.
Christian, we have a local studio too, so we do a fair amount of local stuff. He has to be there, but in general, we could be anywhere. We don't rely on. And it's kind of cool too because when you have the online thing, you can go anywhere, and it's a little different thing because like if we bombed here in Nashville, if everyone hated us in Nashville, we did something wrong.
Yeah.
If everybody hated us in Nashville, you know, doesn't affect our business. We obviously wouldn't prefer that, but you know, our business
pack up and go
online.
somewhere else.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. It makes the location irrelevant. I still think there's a lot of benefits to living in music.
I would agree with that.
You know, because we get just as much nowadays. It's starting to be just as much local stuff as online, almost revenue wise. So, heck yeah, why not? But yeah, the internet, man, is where it's at. It's like that's where you're gonna meet people. That's where you know, like study that stuff. Like spend some time, and you know, there's a lot of people that are like they're great producers, you know, and it's like shift your learning a little, learn some other skills. It's just not quite as exciting for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
Or they think it's cheese. They don't want to be one of the internet marketer guys, but so you know, whatever gets you gigs.
Yeah, you got it. I think in this business in music, to touch on kind of what you were saying a little bit earlier, is like I'm not. I never feel any amount of satisfaction doing anything else the way I do with music, and it's always been that way. I think since I was probably 13, it's what I've known I've wanted to do for the rest of my life. And there are always these times where you try other things, or you at least think about doing other things, and you just can't commit to them.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm really glad that I've done all this sales shit that I've done, because it's played such a huge role in the way that I think about things and the way that I conduct myself in a business sense, and for situation awareness. But I really just feel like it feeds into what I'm doing now and what I'm trying to do now, which is still kind of unknown. There's always a question mark. I don't know if you feel that way. Do you always feel like there's a question mark of like what you're fucking doing is like, so?
Yes, it's called anxiety, and they have good medicine for it. I
Yeah.
highly recommend it. It goes back to the no blueprint thing, man. It's like we want a blueprint. We want to check it off the list and same with artists too. You know, it's well, just give me this checklist, and I want to check it off, and at the end, where are my fans, and where's my sales? And it's the same for everything. If only, right?
Yeah.
I wish I'd be a millionaire if I had that checklist. If it was a guaranteed checklist. There's always like, is that right? You know, and you just gotta try it all, and over time, it gets a little better, because we're in a position where we can like try some left-handed crap, and if it bombs, it doesn't really affect us too bad. You know, we lose a month, a couple grand or something that we could have made by not being dumb.
A risk. It's a risk.
As you get a bigger foundation, some of the risk stuff that would in the beginning be a big risk, or a little less,
Yeah. Congratulations.
So, what's that?
Congratulations on that. I think that's an achievement in itself. It's just like, when you start to take risks that a couple of years ago would have been big, and now they're like maybe small, that's good.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And there's of course still risks that are like
big.
To me are huge.
Yeah.
Like hiring someone, which to a lot of my friends, I have friends that have 50 plus employees at their company, and I'm just like, how do you, it's so scary to me. 50 people depend on you showing up here and being sane. But yeah, man, it's I forgot the question. What was it? Yeah, risks.
It was about marketing and
I forgot the question. Sorry, man.
That's fine. That's fine.
Can move on.
Yeah. The next one is, don't be afraid of cool people. Yeah, I know. It seems like everyone looks cooler than you, has a cooler life, and a ton of social media followers. Remember that you are running a business, and the only KPI that matters now is how much revenue is coming in and how much revenue is going out. Not likes on Instagram, which is kind of a little bit touches on what you were just saying about hiring someone. I think in a way that kind of plays into it.
How so?
Well, it's like how much money you have coming in versus how much money you have going out.
Yeah.
Like, how much are you paying the person? How much are they going to be bringing into the company?
Yeah. So that's the shit you worry about versus. So the point of this is I've just seen a lot of people stay broke because they want to do what they have fear of not.
They want the
cool.
maybe cred.
Maybe because the project wasn't as that cool. And this ties in, of course, that you're not going to like everything that you like. And like I said, you can like every project you like, you'll probably just be broke, Or like every project you take, you'll probably just be broke. It's like, I think once you're really into this shit, and that, now we're also in a creative field, so I'm not discrediting like a look and vibe can be a very important thing, 100%, absolutely. So I'm not discrediting that at all. But what I mean is just like a lot. This is for the kids in their early 20s, where you're sort of just still comparing yourself to everything. Which is, I consult a lot of kids that are in their early 20s. Like, man, I'm dealing with this. I was like, that's not music. That's just being in your early 20s. It's just kind of a weird fucking time,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what
when
to
you're figuring shit out.
Yeah, I don't know really what to tell you except that early 20s are just kind of weird. It's gonna be a lot of comparing yourself to other people, and because you have these 22-year-olds who look like they've just got life already. And some of them do, and they're great, and some of them just make it look that way. But the reality is money in, money out, It's the only fucking thing that actually matters. Cool or not cool, what's coming in, you know what I mean?
That's the reality of the
situation. You have a million Instagram likes, cool. What's the money that's coming in and out of your business? It's like you look cool, but you don't go to your landlord and say, "Hey, look, 1 million Instagram likes." So can we just like waive this month?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can use that to build a business from. I'm not discrediting that, but yeah, important shit has to matter. So that's why I have cool dad shoes from Walmart. I'm also not a fashion guy, so it may just be a little easier for me to
let go.
say that,
Yeah.
to let go of
Yeah.
and that guy looks cooler than me, but this is what it is.
Fuck it.
We'll hang or we won't.
I think it's so important. Like I know for me, a lot of the town that I kind of grew up in is a little bit weird because it's like there's this middle class where their parents were like college professors because Brogan College is in my hometown. It's like a big staple in the community. And then there's this lower class. It's like the white trash, like low rung. And I don't say that as a bad thing. Like I've always really enjoyed.
They throw the best parties. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I always liked. They were always the most fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
And I always felt like I was in this weird cross section in between the two. And I think just so much of where I grew up, it absolutely shapes what I'm doing today and like my outlook on the world. And I don't know. I don't even know where I was going.
It's a good
with
thing
that.
because you can hang with different kinds of people.
Yeah. I mean that's part of it. I don't know. It just really valuable experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's really valuable experience in learning just a little bit about economics.
Sure.
And like the lifestyles that come along with each of them. And then noticing the kind of decisions that those people that are in those certain economic classes are making that either keep them there or put them elsewhere.
Yeah. It's interesting to watch. I think so.
Yeah.
People
for
watching.
sure.
Sort
Yeah.
of.
Get that from sales.
Yeah, right.
And then this kind of ties into it. This is number 8. Be prepared to sacrifice some things that your friends will have.
Yeah, like 6 packs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, you just give up a lot of stuff. I mean,
Sleep?
Sleep for me is one I don't fuck with.
That's smart.
I don't, I probably smoke too many cigarettes and not eat the best food and haven't been in a relationship in 6 years and, it's been a little less time with my family than I'd like to, although now being back in Charlotte, it's one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Sleep I don't screw with, man. Sleep,
you have to be on your A game.
Yeah, sleep can be a deadly cycle. So, I usually get sleep. I'm not one of those guys that just like works through the night. I get a good amount of hours done in the day. Unless there's a deadline or something, but I always try to get my 8 hours of sleep. Sleep is the one I don't mess with because recovering from substance abuse when I was a teenager. That was one that wasn't involved with sleeping. That kept you up for a while. So I know what the deadly effects of that, man. Like not being sleep deprived is not good. So I try not to do that. But everything else I completely screw up. Sleeping's the only one. Everything else I don't do as great of a job at. And you're gonna, sometimes sacrifice, some relationships and maybe your health a little bit. Maybe you're, a little higher stress. I mean, some people again deal with that better. There's some guys that are just like, nah, health is first. You're first, and it's important to put yourself first and do the best job you can because your business does depend on that. You have to be there to run it. But yeah, you just, in general aren't going to be able to do some of the shit that your friends are going to do when you're building your thing. Like, they're going to have cooler cars and shit than you, and it just is what it is. Like,
They're also taking a paycheck from somebody else.
Sure, yeah, you don't get to spend your money that way
Yeah.
in the beginning. You can. I don't recommend that either. Been there, done that. You don't overcommit to expenses, which I've been known to do in the past, but you learn your lesson. Yeah, you're just... things are going to say, like, oh, you're going to question, like, oh, I could be married right now, my friends have kids and a job, and they seem fine, and you just know what makes you happy, and, if that makes you happy, then maybe that needs to be the focus, maybe this isn't the focus. But if you give this up, building your thing, to have that, and you know, deep down, you know, it's not going to make you happy, then it ain't going to work either. You can't have both, you know?
Yeah.
You got to kind of figure it out.
It's almost like they come in phases.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I personally, I know one day I want like a wife and a kids and all that, but right now I feel like if I just jumped right into that, maybe you feel similarly about this, is if I just jumped right into that right now, then what if everything that I'm trying to do right now just stops, and then I just spend the rest of my life like wanting that thing and I never got to do it? I feel like there would be a part of me that would be very unsatisfying to be around.
Well, I think sometimes, you know, being an entrepreneur is sort of a selfish thing.
Yeah.
You know? You're doing this shit for you. You're like, you know, I'm building fucking my shit, you know what I mean? And when when you're involved with other people in a lot of, it's not about you anymore, especially when a kid's involved. It's not about you anymore at that moment.
Totally.
When that thing pops out, it ain't about you anymore. It's about the kid.
them, yeah.
That's what you signed up for. You know, same with the significant other. They need their time too, and can you actually put someone first for your business? Are in a position to do that, you know, and some people are, and some people may have a significant other that is okay with being second to the person's business, but it's kind of got to be first for a little while, you know, you and your business if you want to get it going. Maybe that's not for everybody.Maybe there's someone's like, I got married young, and my fuel is the fact that I have this family, and that's not my experience. So I'm not saying my way.
Again,
is
no
the
blueprint.
way. Yeah, no blueprint. But for me, it's, you know, I don't know, man. It just gives, like, I get it. Maybe you know, I get a fair amount of satisfaction out of doing it. Maybe distraction, and maybe just be me distracting myself from that stuff. Maybe I'll wake up and be like, oh shit, there's probably a lot of other stuff I should have done, you know. But I don't know, it fulfills me, and so I don't really look for a lot of that from other sources at the moment. So yeah.
Well, congratulations. I would say I really believe in what you're doing. I mean, there's so many people out there who say that they want to do it and that they want to do music or they want to do it for a career, but they're unwilling to make those sacrifices. They're unwilling, and you know what? When I was younger, I used to really look down upon those people, but now I don't fucking blame them. Like, if somebody tells me, like,
so a lot of times it sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
I don't blame them at all. I envy them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, man, why can't I just been a normal person?
Yeah, exactly. And you, like, when someone's like, well, I think, like, if there was a 16-year-old kid today, and they were like, well, I really want to do music, and I would just say to them, well, do you really want to fucking do this? Like, this is a big decision that you're about to make, and it's one that you at least have to commit to for probably until you're 30, like, to really figure out, and not even to put a timestamp on it or anything like that, but you're going to have to put in some time. It's going to be a process, and you have to trust the process. It takes time. It's a trickle-down kind of thing.
And I think that can be scary, too, versus just, like, doing one thing at a time. You know what I mean? Like, for 16-year-old kids, I want to do music. Okay, it's cool. Pick an instrument. Just start playing it, you know? Like, that's step one, you know?
Yeah,
momentum.
exactly.
Momentum is the thing. I think when it's like, fuck, that is going to be hard. When you look at, like, the end sometimes of, like, oh, shit, you know, this is going to be a climb. It can, what makes a lot of people never start, you know?
I would agree with
it's just
that.
like, well, if you just, like, learn guitar, that's the first step, right? And it's like, more than you do, you know, like a year ago. You have a new thing. I mean, I think my thing was like, it was all very slow progression. I just happened to get started a little early. That's why, you know. Started playing when I was young, so I kind of was into music. So I knew how to decently play an instrument by the time I was 12 and played a little bit more and then ended up getting into the studio stuff. And it was a slow progression. You know, that's the other thing, too. It's like, it just takes experience, you know. You can't also want the end tomorrow.
Which is hard.
People are like, oh, you're whatever, blah, blah, blah age. There's kids younger than me killing it way harder. But it's like, yeah, but like you're not counting, like, since I was 8, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's actually been 20 years. I'm 28.
Yeah.
I started playing guitar when I was 8. It's 20 years, you know? I just started a little young, like getting into it and picking up a little bit of a skill. Maybe somebody's starting at 20, you know? somebody starting at 20 or whatever, so maybe it takes them until 30, or there's kids that do it, and 2 years later they're Skrillex.
Boom. Yeah.
Cool. Whatever. Everybody's gonna have their different sort of thing. So yeah, it's the hardest part of anything is, so I deal with a lot of, we have a couple YouTube channels, and part of my job is to get people to make content for the channel. And it's like, hey, we got the audience here. You can make a video and be on this channel right there. You don't have to do all the bullshit of starting your own. Like, if you got products or whatever you want to do, if you just want to be on the, promote you as a mixer, whatever it is, with the channel, yeah, man, it's a great idea, it's great. It's like none of them ever do it. It's so hard to get people to do it. Because the first one is the hardest. The first video, making the first video is the hardest.
Yeah.
Then once they do one, they're like, oh, here's like 3 more. It's the first. Just starting is the hardest part of.
Yeah, and I don't. From my experience, just being I guess entrepreneur, business minded, all that. That first one, it's not even just with people with music. I mean, people involved with music are a little bit flakier, but there are people who want to, I don't know, own their own fucking tire company or something like that, and it's like they'll talk about it for 20 years and not do anything. You just can't talk about it. You have to have that impulse.
It's like once you sell the first tire, it's game on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough to get to the. I don't know. When did you decide to do the podcast? Was it a pretty quick thing? Or was it I'm going to do a pod, and then you finally did the first one, and you're like, okay, cool, let me book the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mixture of the two, because I knew I wanted to do a podcast for a long, long time, because it's just a medium that I'm into. I feel like it's this really rock and roll kind of thing where there are no rules. And it was actually, there was this kid that I met. I played this gig at BB King's downtown with my friend Dale. It was like my first one of my first actual gigs here in Nashville, and he had set me up with it. I was playing with him, and it was at this cancer benefit at the club, and this kid walks in, and he's going to, his name is I can't remember what his name is, but he is going cross country on a trip from Massachusetts. He started in Boston, New York, Chicago, Nashville, Atlanta, Los Angeles. He went to all of these cities and just showed up at places and was like, let me play. So I knew up until this point, I was like, I gotta do a podcast. I met this kid and I was like, I should have him on as a guest. This should be my first podcast. I mean, he's interesting.
Yeah.
He's doing something. He's doing fucking something, which I feel goes a long way. He's attempting to do it. So, and I didn't even think anything of it at the club that night. I'd given him a business card, and then he called me the next day. So I was like, hey, let's grab dinner just to chat, man. I really respect what you're doing. And then later on, I texted him, you know what, scratch that, dude. Come over to my place. Let's do a fucking podcast. I want you to kind of talk about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that was the first episode. It's kind of a shorter one, so I haven't put it up yet. So I'm kind of just holding it in my back pocket, and when I have a week where I'm not releasing anything, I'll put that out maybe around Christmas or something like that.
I'm excited to hear it. I'm curious to
But so that's how it kind of started. Is I've always known that I wanted to do a podcast, and then finally just one day I was like, time to fucking do it. Just time to do it.
This is the Poptimist podcast. This is Daniel Grimmet. Today we have. I flipped it on you there. I was curious. Cool, man. Yeah. It's about getting started.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
that's basically how it happened. I guess tracing it back, I used to have a radio show back in Maine.
Okay.
It was just at it was at Bowdoin College, so it was just a local college station. They let local people, townies. I'm a fucking townie who left town. That's really what it is. I'm a townie who left town.
Yeah.
I would be back in Maine right now with all of my fucking friends, drinking and just smoking and not doing anything with our lives, smoking dope. And I absolutely love that. That's who I really am. I don't want to do anything. I really don't want to do anything deep down.
Right.
I just want to hang out. But there are things in this world, I just see music as such a great opportunity, and I see Nashville. This is probably an unpopular opinion in some ways with people here. I see Nashville as a graveyard in some ways. This is really the old way that the industry did things. It's been isolated from itself, from the rest of the music business. I feel because country fans have bought music still. So some of the things that I feel a lot of the ideas here are old, unpopular opinion, Music Row is a fucking graveyard. I don't think there's too many new music ideas happening there. And I think it's guys like you or anybody who's out there who's just flying their own fucking flag and saying, I'm doing my own thing. That's the future. And that's the present.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of that stuff going on here. You know, when you find, I mean, I think like anything, it's, you know, change is going to be rare in a lot of places, but a lot of new people are moving here, and you know, all sorts of, you know, different kind of companies are starting, and then more tech music stuff, and you know, the country stuff. Hey, if it's working for them, work it.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't personally have anything against it.
Yeah.
I guess
that was my politically correct answer, but I mean, no, really, like I you know. I think it's all like who you come across. But there's some, like, it's very different from when I was out here, like, would visit in 2013 and visit in 2010, and then back in 2007-8 when I would record out here with the band. Very different, you know, and some of the stuff, like, changed in a bad way, and some of it changed in a cool way. You know, like, I, like, lived in Los Angeles, and where, like, the film stuff is and all that stuff, and, like, the most, like, hustling, like, hardcore, like, best, like, sync agent I met is here, you know? They can get shit in LA where all the shit is, you know, here. It's like, it's more, a little bit more, I think the new, I don't know, new Nashville, I don't know if I'm allowed to, like, coin that term, but, like, what I see in that is some cool shit happening, and people, the underdogs, kind of underdog, you know? So, yeah, they're out there, man. I don't really hang much with, I'm not super versed in, like, the traditional way houses. I don't know if it's better or worse. I have a, you know, a buddy that mixes some kind of notable country stuff. It's more new country, you know. I don't know. Again, I see that as, that's like a different kind of world from us guys. So
congratulations on that. I think that's a fucking achievement, man. Like, I really do. I think the fact that you guys are, I wouldn't say isolated or insulated, because I feel like that's the wrong word. But the fact that you're just self-sustaining, off in your own world. You guys are like doomsday preppers who go out into town to buy canned goods. Like, you're still part of society, but it hasn't completely crashed yet.
Right.
So I think that's really an achievement, especially now. Especially now in the state of the fucking economy. B, just the way that things are going in the music business, where there's a huge question mark on just the music business in general and entertainment in general. It's like the Wild West again. Yeah,
and I think that in some aspects it is a good thing. It makes it scarier and less like, whoa, what the hell's going on? Mm-hmm. But, like, I probably would have never, like, went and started something if, like, the music industry wasn't in that state.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had to.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to. So it does, I think it inspires whatever there's, like, you know, big change, it inspires you to do things, and it'll be harder for some people, and you know, a big breakthrough for other people. You know, I was not in the industry before that, so I don't know really anything different.
Yes. Yes. Good point.
I've heard, but I just wanted to be in the industry, and this happened to be the time period where I wanted to get into it, and so we're dealing with whatever it is now.
You're adapting to the environment.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll change a million times. Like, that's, if anything, that's what I'm worried about. You know what I mean? Like, like, we found our little thing now, but, like, some kid could whoop our ass in 2 years, and, like, we're done, son. You know, so that's what I'm always looking for, the young kid, you know, to while we have a little, like, street cred and whatever, the online world or whatever, we can pull some, you know, the future kind of guys underneath, and so that when I'm 40, I don't have to work at McDonald's, which if I do, I do. But
hey, it's better
there's no pensions in our company.
I think
no pensions, pension plan.
You have to take the risk. It reminds me. Do you know who Chuck Bukowski or Charles Bukowski is, the writer?
I know that name.
Okay, so Charles Bukowski, he has this poem. One of his books got turned into a movie called Factotum. But he has this poem called Go All the Way, and the opening of it is, hold on, actually, I have it written down here. Let me find it real quick so I don't horribly misquote it.
Don't want his people coming after you, man.
Yeah. He's dead. Doesn't matter.
He's probably still got people. Someone's getting the royalty checks
Yeah.
for those books.
If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. So I think that's something, and there's a whole great poem that goes along with it. But yeah, I kind of like to end things just on that note. Don't stop believing.
Cool. I'm glad I don't have to come up with
Yeah.
a quote. Yeah.